Well, I did it again. Welcome back to the channel, folks. And last night I just went out and fundangled this thing. Had a friend of mine started messaging the lady that was selling this thing, and well, as soon as I heard the price, I was like, yeah, we'll go get it. I even have the hood for it. It's propped up against a tree over here, and she was a flathead V8 car even. I'm pretty sure it's a 41 Ford Super Deluxe, and it is a was this a Tudor? No, this isn't a Tudor. I forget what exactly this is. It's a big car and it has suicide doors, and that's pretty cool. This thing was a struggle to get out of the woods, and I'll throw in some clips that a buddy of mine took. I was too busy working at getting this thing out, so always bring along a good buddy who's willing to stand there and take footage and videos and pictures and all that while you're, you know, busy working. But I'll throw in some of those clips now so you guys can get an idea of what the struggle was, and then we'll try and get this thing off the trailer. I want to get some wheels on the back of it here, but I'll let you guys see the resurrection process here. Well, now that you guys have seen a little bit of that adventure, let's figure on getting this thing off of here. First thing I was going to do is try and pick up the front and maybe get some boards under the middle of this thing so it'll teeter-totter some. Trying to get it up in the air enough that I can get some blocks under the rear axle. Somebody mostly unbolted the rear axle out of this thing, so it's just floating in here. So if I can get the whole car up in the air enough, I can get blocks in between the axle and the frame. That'd be perfect. And then I can get wheels on the back of this thing. These drums probably won't roll, but at the minimum, I'll have some rubber that this thing can kind of skid on. And that's kind of the goal for right now. So obviously we got all reliable here. And we'll try and get this thing up enough. And like I said, try to get some blocks kind of in the middle of the car so it'll teeter-totter some. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't have much lift on this thing. I'm trying to avoid the grill because that's actually a really nice grill still. It's not even dented in the slightest. Like, that's a beauty of a grill, so we'll keep that nice. But we'll get this thing up and monkey around and we'll see what happens. Well, that didn't quite work out as intended. We just got the front end really high, so it's got that gasser stance now. But I went ahead and looped up a tow strap, and we'll try and pull this thing forward, and maybe it'll pull up on those blocks and get the center of gravity up and over so it teeter-totters. Worst case scenario, I'll just pull it onto the ground and we'll struggle from there. I'm hoping not to do that though, so I don't know. We're just experimenting here. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'd like to get some wheels on the back of this thing, but the rear axle not really being bolted in is kind of a struggle, so we'll see. We'll pull this thing out. I don't particularly know where my tripod is, so I can't really set up the proper camera angles for you guys. We're back to a low buck operation. Listen to this thing fire up though. What a unit. We'll go make sure that it's not. I really don't want to bung up those bumpers. Oh yeah, we're golden. I guess we'll just keep going like that and see what happens. mean, worst case scenario, I just drag it on the ground, but I'd really like to not do that. Oh, I should look at the other side and make sure it's not hitting that trailer fender. Hold on. We're good. We'll just keep going like that. Maybe another click. There, I seen the rear end move. Let's see how that looks. Oh. Oh yeah, tons of room back here. Now you can see that's where the rear end should be, and it should have another, I think it should have another transverse leaf spring right there, but obviously that is not there. Should have some kind of setup like that, I don't know. It's kind of a cool old banjo rear end though. This thing is all kinds of not really bolted in there. Jeez. At least those folks were really nice. They let me take part of their backyard with me. They were actually really cool. They let us pull the car out. They had like a back road and they let us pull it all the way out. So that worked out a lot nicer than trying to back the trailer way in there. And I mean, it didn't really even bung up their driveway too bad, but this gives me a lot more room to try and lift the car up and get some blocks in between the rear axle and the frame. Like I said, just trying to get some wheels on it here. So we'll shut the service truck off and monkey with this a little more. I think we're in a good spot, you know. Ah, geez, gonna have to call the troopers. Found an unregistered firearm in here. It's not loaded though. That blue? Yeah. Well, it's another great day in paradise. Last night, I had a couple friends over and we got this little girl all pressure washed and clean and shiny. Got most of the lichen and moss and stuff off of it. You can see some places were pretty stubborn yet, but she's looking pretty sharp. As you can see, I got wheels on the back of it. This wheel rolls, the other side doesn't, but it, like I've been saying, gives the other side something to drag on, so that's better than nothing. That axle's way too far up because there's just a, I think it's a 2x6, maybe a 4x6 shoved in between the body and the axle, holding the axle down. I definitely need to find the spring assembly for this rear axle, because somebody took the springs out of this thing, so that axle's just chilling there. But it seems to stay in there, and the wheel doesn't seem to be rubbing on anything, so we'll just let her rip. That old Jeep wheel looks great on this thing too. It's an absolute score. Of course, the front's just sitting on blocks right now, but you know, I had to mock it all up, have a good looking complete-ish car. Straightened out the license plate some. That's just a sharp looking old car. There ain't nothing more to it than that. The lights put in there. Now, the doors on this side still won't open, but the doors on that side open fine, so we'll have to wrestle with that someday. We sprayed everything with WD-40, so hopefully everything kind of has some time to think about its life. This thing does have a little more rust than expected, but that's all right. It looks like it completely rusted off the drip rail on this side. Somebody shoved a piece of trim in there, and then of course all that's gone. But structurally, this thing's still pretty sound. It's got the old trunk lid. We tried to clean everything out of the back and the floors and everything as best we could. Of course, you get all that gunk out of there. It doesn't prevent rust, but it slows it down for sure. The old trunk latch works, but we can't get the trunk lid won't close far enough to actually latch, but the latch itself is functional. Even has a little flip up keyhole thing. Just a sharp old car. I was watching the Steve Magnante last night. He did a walk around on a Tudor sedan. Of course, that's a two-door sedan. And he was saying that 1941 was kind of a special year for Ford, because in 1941 the body was 6 inches wider on these cars, so there's 6 inches more to the seat and everything, partially because they switched to an internal running board. So as you can see, you can't see the running board now, but it does have a running board, so kind of a cool thing. And then the fenders in 1941 were 1 year only. They have a seam down the middle. That's a 1 year only deal, among some other odd stuff. Like, this is the hole where the radio went, is what I learned. This car, of course, was super deluxe, so it was the, you know, this thing had all the gizmos and gadgets. So the radio would have went there, and the clock over here. And I believe this is the speaker grill here. And one thing I did learn is this is a really early form of plastic. Unlike what a lot of folks were using, what's called Bakelite at the time, which is kind of almost plastic. I guess this was kind of a soy-based plastic. I don't know how close it is to Bakelite, but still kind of a neat little fact that Ford was kind of monkeying around with plastics and stuff back in the day. So I can't even say that my car is not made out of plastic, because part of it is. We got some of the linkage for the 3-speed works, which honestly is kind of surprising. So if we can get the transmission and everything all freed up, all I need is a flathead V8 to stick in here. Just a minty old jalopy. The old hand crank wing window even works. Get that proper airflow in here. Of course, that's how I know it's a V8 car. But you can also tell via the engine mounts down there, as well as the exhaust, that, well, the exhaust fell out. It used to be there, I promise. Still have the fender tag, or the firewall tag and everything on this car. She's just, I don't know, I wonder what the story was. I think it was parted out. Maybe somebody had a coupe that they wanted all the goods off of this car for, because clearly they yoinked the front hubs, the engine. They took the spring out of the back. Probably yoinked the radio out of this car and the clock and everything, and really pimped out their ride. And then, of course, this car just ended up sitting. Oh, I did get the horn button reattached last night too. That was kind of a big score. All the little screws and everything that hold it in were still there, so I got her all put back together. Just a classy old car. Steering wheel still steers. All that stuff works. Like, this is a cool one. It's definitely going to be kind of a long-term project. For right now, it's just yard art, but it's pretty good-looking yard art, if you ask me. I can't remember much else that I learned from Steve Manyanti there, but it'll all pop in as I go. Oh yeah, one thing I learned is this is the first year Ford had an enclosed gas cap. All the other years they had an, external gas cap. They didn't have a fuel door. Pretty cool. One thing I didn't know, or one thing that I don't know that I kind of want to figure out, is my column shift is on the wrong side of the steering column. I don't know if that's something that people would kind of flip-flop, back in the day. Because usually your 3-speeds, the shifter's on this side, kind of like, typical old automatic transmission or anything. And this one, the shifter's on the other side. So I don't know if somebody messed with that and that's why it's on the wrong side or what, but we'll figure it out someday. Hopefully that floor piece isn't too hard to replace. I don't know. I don't think that would have been just a sheet of plywood. It's definitely not flat, so probably not. We'll figure it all out someday, but for right now, this old girl's going to go sit out in the backyards. I promptly took this piece of junk from somebody else's woods, and I'm going to put it in my woods, because that's what manhood's all about. We'll get her tucked away nice, and maybe, I don't know, shine up on the paint while she's sitting. I want to find a flathead V8 to put in this thing, because I kind of want to keep the original drivetrain. The enclosed tube drive shaft's kind of neat, as well as the transverse leaf springs are just kind of a cool little trinket. Of course, I have all the suspension components except for that spring, so I don't know. We'll see what comes with this thing. For right now, I'm glad I saved it. It was definitely a score, and something you don't see too often. I know a lot of folks probably aren't in the middle of Alaska like I am, but if you are, you know that pre-war and kind of war era cars are kind of hard to find up here, especially in the Fairbanks area. We had a junkyard that it got scrapped out in the 70s, so of course that means it would have had tons of 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s era cars in it, and they all got scrapped out. And that was a huge junkyard here in the Fairbanks area, so, losing that means we lost a lot of this type of stuff. I know of a lot more pre-war era cars than I used to currently, but, you just don't find them in this condition sitting out in the woods like you do down in the lower 48, so being able to save one's definitely something that I'm glad to do. And hopefully someday we'll do something with it. If not, like I said, it's a mighty fine looking piece of yard art. So I want to thank you guys for watching, following along on the adventure, and we'll catch you on the next one. I'm going to get this thing poked back in the woods in a nice spot. And, well, you guys can look forward to the next video. Until then, we'll see you later.